Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. I got a bottled and bond rye on the bar tonight. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is a sample courtesy of Buck's brother. Thank you so much. This is New Riff Balboa Rye. So, not that long ago, I did a video of the regular New Riff Rye, and I said that I really liked it. I was super looking forward to exploring more products from New Riff, asked for recommendations, and a lot of people recommended the Balboa Rye. I've also posted a couple of bourbon hunting shorts since then, and one of them featured the Balboa Rye, I believe, and people had recommended it again resoundingly. And so I had mentioned that, and then Buck's brother came slamming home with the sample, so again, thank you. So this is a bottled and bond, aged 4 years, rye whiskey, non-chill filtered from New Riff. And I guess what sends this apart, let me repeat that. I guess what sets this apart from the standard New Riff rye is the Balboa rye is like a certain like heirloom grain or something like that. It's the actual rye grain itself. So beyond that, I don't know much about it. That's what their website said. It will say at least 4 years in some places. Their website says 4 years. So again, bottled and bond, so we're at 100 proof, non-chill filtered. Let's get into it. On the nose, a really bright rye. And if I remember correctly from just the standard rye offering from New Riff that I reviewed not that long ago, that one had kind of a bright sort of profile to it as well. I think it was a little more on the minty side, which I was really digging. This one on the nose, I'm getting a little bit of that, and I'm getting kind of some standard rye flavors. By the way, this is a 95.5 rye, so 95% rye, 5% malted barley, so it's very high rye. I am getting some rye flavor, and I think there is kind of a distinction that maybe I don't really ever talk about, but a distinction between like a rye flavor and a rye spice, because ryes are typically known for having a little bit more of a spice profile, or a spice forward profile. They're not without their sweetness, but there are some kind of like standard rye flavors and rye aromas that maybe lean a little bit towards that kind of like rye bread, rye muffin sort of profile. And I'm here for it on this, but it's light, and it's kind of interesting being such a high rye mash bill. The rye flavoring, or at least on the nose here, is just kind of complementary to these really nice kind of sweet and tart sort of notes. And yeah, it's making for a really interesting nose. So let's get into the palate, see what happens. Cheers. So on that first sip, that's really nice. It has the quintessential rye flavors to it on the palate. I feel like the nose really kind of mirrors the palate for the most part. The rye flavor is there. And again, like rye flavor versus rye spice. So maybe like in the rye flavor, I mentioned kind of like a rye bread, rye muffin, but there's also a lot of times kind of like a little bit of a clove note, a little bit like kind of like an allspice, sometimes a bit of like a black licorice. Not really getting the black licorice on this one, but a little bit of that light clove in there. But it's not in your face like you would expect on such a high rye whiskey. It's really balanced out with this nice, bright, kind of fruity sort of note. And I find that interesting because, at least for the most part, like I said before, ryes are kind of known for having like a more of a spicy kind of profile. Sometimes they're a little bit darker. They're kind of more like when people put out their, you know, fall whiskeys, best fall whiskeys, a lot of times like high rye bourbons or rye whiskeys are on there for that reason, for kind of having that kind of spice sort of profile. But every once in a while, ryes can be really kind of bright and fruity as well. And this one, I think, really has that, at least so far in that first sip and on the nose. Let's get into the second sip, see if anything changes. Yeah, that's just bright and fruity. This is definitely the fruity kind of notes are taking center stage. And I would say as far as like the fruit flavors go that I'm getting, it's almost like a candy sort of fruit. Like I'm getting kind of a sweet tart vibe off of this. And then like as far as like actual fruit, not just like candy fruit, there's kind of like a light apricot going on here, and which is normally not a flavor just like in my general life that I like, but when it shows up on a whiskey like this, it works for me. So it definitely has, like, along with that light rye note, that candied kind of sweet tart, or like Smarties, sort of like tart candy fruit note. And then, yeah, with that apricot. And then I think like it kind of gets rounded off on the finish with a little bit of light vanilla and then some oak. And this is one of those ones where, you know, the age on it, saying that it's 4 years, like I said, some places say at least 4 years. I think it said 4 years on their website. It's easy to shy away from a 4-year whiskey, especially if you're paying, you know, a certain amount of dollars. Now this, I think, runs around $55 in Minnesota here. At least that's the total wine price that I saw. So it's probably, you know, 55 to 60 on average, which is not bad. But when you see something having a 4-year age statement, you know, I'm guilty of this. I know a lot of people kind of tend to like, okay, 4 years, I don't know, how much am I going to pay for a 4-year whiskey? But I've had a couple recently that have really, really come through at the 4-year and even like 3-year age statement. I had one that was a 3-year whiskey, but it was cask strength. But this one had 100 proof. I think the proof works well for it. You know, if you release this at 80 proof at 4 years, yeah, it's probably not going to work. Even 90 proof maybe. I think the proof is good for it. The proof helps it kind of keep some of those flavors, you know, showing up that maybe are a little tamped down from the lower age statement. But all around, this is a really, really good whiskey and definitely worth the price point for sure. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. This is something that's kind of different and unique. So let's get into the final sip and come back with final thoughts. So yeah, as I said, just a really good rounded out whiskey. It's unique, but it's just unique enough. Like there's certain flavor notes in it that kind of play within the boundaries of a rye. But I feel like this one just leans a little bit more, like maybe some of the other flavors are dialed up a little more than they are on some other ryes. And, you know, I said before in the video that a lot of people put out, you know, when they put out their fall whiskeys, it's ryes or high rye bourbons. This one, this is a summer whiskey all day long. With that nice kind of like candied fruit note, like fruit notes, but then the candy on the side with like the Smarties or the sweet tarts. And then that apricot note, and it's just got just enough of that vanilla and barrel spice on the finish. This is kind of like a light and bright whiskey. And yeah, I think all around for that, it totally works. So I said before when I did the two new Riff products that I've done, the regular bourbon, the regular rye, that I wanted to explore the brand more. This was a great exploration of the brand. I definitely want to look at even more. I know they've got the 8-year bourbon, the 8-year rye out, so at some point I'm probably going to pick up one of those. But yeah, if you like a nice bright rye, like it's almost like it got like a refreshing quality to it. So yeah, let me know if you guys have had this one, if that was your experience. But yeah, this one is just like fruit and just like bright and light. This is a summer whiskey for me as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, let me know if you think the same thing. This has been New Riff Balboa Rye, courtesy of Buck's Brother. On the Bourbon Note, I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one.